Bismillah, this is Dr. Magda Talib Al-Hinai from the Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Sultan Qaboos University, presenting exponential and logarithmic equations. This presentation is exclusive to the Independent Learning Center at Sultan Qaboos University. First, we start with exponential equations. We define an exponential equation as an equation in which the variable occurs in the exponent, as for example, 5 power x equals 8. In order to solve the equation 5 power x equals 8, we need to bring x down. This can be only done using logarithms. So taking ln to both sides of the above equation, we arrive at ln 5 power x is equal to ln 8. And using property number 3 of logarithms, which is mentioned in the previous video, we find that x comes down, so we have x ln 5 equals ln 8. Now solving for x, we have x is equal to ln 8 divided by ln 5. Here we summarize the steps to solve exponential equations. First, we need to isolate the exponential expression on one side of the equation. Step number 2, we take the logarithm to both sides of the equation. Step number 3, we apply the property of logarithms, which brings down the exponent. Step number 4, we solve for the unknown variable. Here we have an example. Solve the exponential equation e power 3x minus 4 equals 2. So we already have the exponential expression isolated on the left-hand side. So if we take ln to both sides, we'll have ln e power 3x minus 4 is equal to ln 2. Now we apply property number 3 of logarithms to bring the exponent down. So 3x minus 4 all multiplied by ln e. This is equal to ln 2. Now I have ln e is 1. So I have 3x minus 4 multiplied by 1 is equal to ln 2. Now I solve for x. I get 3x equals 4 plus ln 2, this by adding 4 to both sides of the above equation. And then we divide both sides of the equation 3x equals 4 plus ln 2. We divide both sides of this equation by 3. We get x is equal to 4 plus ln 2 over 3. And then you use your calculator to get the approximate answer. Another example. Solve the exponential equation 3 power x plus 2 equals 7. Here we take log to both sides of the equation. So log 3 power x plus 2 is equal to log 7. And again, we apply the property number 3 of logarithms, so we get the x plus 2 down. So x plus 2 all multiplied by log 3 is equal to log 7. Now we solve for x. So I divide both sides of the last equation by log 3. And then adding minus 2 to the equation x plus 2 equals to log 7 over log 3. I add minus 2 to both sides. I get x is equal to log 7 divided by log 3 minus 2. And also use your calculator to get the final answer. Example. Solve the exponential equation e power 2x minus 5 e power x equals 6. We will write the equation in the form e power 2x minus 5 e power x minus 6 equals to 0. And we take into account that e power 2x is e power x all squared. So we can rewrite this 0 equation above in the form e power x all squared minus 5 e power x minus 6 equals 0. And then we factor the left-hand side. So we have two brackets. The first, e power x minus 6 multiplied by e power x plus 1 equal to 0. So either e power x minus 6 equals 0, and this implies that e power x is equal to 6, which means that x is equal to ln 6. Or from the other factor, we have e power x plus 1 is equal to 0. This implies that e power x is equal to minus 1, and this is of course rejected, as we all know that the exponential function is greater than 0 for all x. Now we go to logarithmic equations and we start defining logarithmic equations. A logarithmic equation is an equation in which the logarithm of the variable occurs. For example, log x plus 1 to the base 3 equals 2. There are two ways to solve log x plus 1 to the base 3 equals 2. Method 1, we write the logarithmic equation in its equivalent exponential form, meaning log x plus 1 to the base 3 equals 2. This is equivalent to saying x plus 1 is equal to 3 squared. Now solving for x, we get that x is equal to 3 squared minus 1, which is 8. Method 2, we isolate the logarithm on one side of the equation, then raise the base to both sides of the logarithmic equation. So we have 3 power log x plus 1 to the base 3 is equal to 3 squared. And using the property number 5 of logarithms mentioned in the previous video, we arrive at x plus 1 is equal to 9, which means x is equal to 8. Steps to solve the logarithmic equations. Step number 1. Use the properties of logarithms to write the logarithms as a single logarithm. Step number 2. Keep this single logarithm on one side of the equation. Keep it isolated separately. Step 3. Use method 1 or method 2, which are mentioned in the previous slide. Step number 4. Solve for the unknown variable. And step number 5. It's advisable always to check your answer you got in step number 4. Example, solve the logarithmic equation. Log 3x plus 1 is equal to 3. We write the equation log 3x plus 1 equals 3 in its equivalent exponential form, i.e. log 3x plus 1 equals 3. This is equivalent to saying that 10 power 3 is equal to 3x plus 1. Now we solve for x, so we have 3x is equal to 10 power 3 minus 1. This gives us x is equal to 333. Substituting in the original equation is always advisable to check our solution. Another example on logarithmic equations. Solve the logarithmic equation log x minus 1 plus log x plus 2 minus 1 equals 0. We start combining the two logarithms we see in front of us in a single logarithm. So we have log x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 2 minus 1 equals to 0. Now we isolate the logarithm in one side of the equation. So we have log x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 2 is equal to 1. We rewrite this equation we see in front of us in its equivalent exponential form. So we get x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 2. This is equal to 10 power 1, which is 10. Now we open the parentheses. We have x squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 10. Subtracting 10 from both sides, we arrive at x squared plus x minus 12 equals 0. This can be factored into two factors, x plus 4 and x minus 3. Their product is 0, so this implies that either x is equal to 3 or x is equal to minus 4. By substituting in the original equation, we see that x equals to minus 4 is rejected. Accordingly, the solution is x is equal to 3.